Sleepy Joe and the people that ran the auto pen were a complete and total disaster for our nation. They were a disaster for our nation. Had they won the election less than 1 year ago, we would have been, as I've often said, Venezuela on steroids. Now I'm Venezuela's biggest fan. We're working with them, but they came down from a very high number to a disaster, a disaster. And we would have been Venezuela on steroids, and we're bringing Venezuela back, and we're going to be great for Venezuela, great for our country. We're taking in, as I said, millions and millions of barrels of oil, and now they're coming in initially on a daily basis, 50 million, and values of over $5 billion. That's in one day. Just think of it, the biggest ships in the world can take 1 million barrels. The biggest ships in the world take 1 million. We have 50 million barrels. We need 50 of the biggest ships in the world just to get it out. We're bringing it in to be refined. It's an incredible feeling. It's great. Winning is a good thing. We're going to work with Venezuela. We'll make that country very strong again. We'll get oil prices down even further. We have it down at about a 6-year low, 7-year low, but we're going to get it down.
Honestly, no one knows what decision the Cuban government will make or what actions the United States government will take as they're applying certain points of pressure.
And I think Cuba is going to be something we'll end up talking about, because Cuba is a failing nation right now, very badly failing nation.
Cuba is a disaster. It's run by incompetent, senile men, and in some cases, not senile, but incompetent nonetheless. It has no economy. It's in total collapse.
No light at the end of the tunnel. That is how experts and residents are now describing life in Cuba, as the island braces for what could be its most severe energy crisis in decades. For years, Venezuela's oil has been a lifeline for Cuba, keeping lights on, buses running, hospitals functioning, and food cooking in millions of homes. Today, that lifeline is being deliberately cut.
It's very complicated because, honestly, no one knows what decision the Cuban government will make or what actions the United States government will take as they're applying certain points of pressure. When we look closely at the current actions of the government, absolutely no one knows what kind of unpredictable consequences that could lead to. We have already seen the devastating economic example of Venezuela in recent years, and it remains completely unclear what specific drastic measures they might take next to address the situation. In relation to the exceptionally grave and critical situation that this entire nation is facing at this very moment.
Under U.S. President Donald Trump, Washington has moved aggressively to choke off Venezuelan oil exports, part of a broader strategy to dismantle the Maduro government. But the shockwaves are not stopping at Venezuela's borders. They are crashing directly into Cuba.
What kind of deal are you looking for from Cuba? What kind of deal are you looking for from Cuba?
You're going to find out pretty soon. We're talking to Cuba, and you'll find out pretty soon. And one of the things I want taken care of, and one of the groups I want taken care of, are the people that came from Cuba that were forced out or left under duress, and they're great citizens of the United States right now. You have a lot of people forced out of Cuba unfairly, so we're going to take care of, most importantly right now, we're going to take care of the people that came from Cuba that are American citizens or in our country.
Do you plan to seize any oil tankers that are headed to Cuba?
Well, we have a lot of oil people really interested. You saw that the other day, and that was just a small group because the room in the White House, we need the ballroom, actually. We could have filled up the ballroom practically. We have so many people that want to go in for oil. So you saw some great companies.
Shipping data shows that Venezuelan crude deliveries to Cuba have nearly vanished. Tankers that once arrived regularly now sail rarely, sometimes with transponders turned off, skirting sanctions, carrying the last barrels that keep Cuba's fragile energy system alive.
If I start thinking about what Venezuela is going through, I feel even more concerned for myself and my children because I don't know what might happen. I don't know. But I try not to dwell on that, to live my life day by day and see what will happen. Like I said, it's the uncertainty of not knowing, but at the same time, I try not to think about it because I don't know, I don't believe in anything. I don't believe in Trump or in what is said here because you can't tell if it's real.
In 2025 alone, Venezuela supplied more than a third of Cuba's daily oil needs. That fuel-powered electricity grids, public transport, food distribution, and basic state services. Without it, the system begins to collapse. In Havana Bay, oil tankers still glide silently past the shoreline. But for ordinary Cubans, the illusion of normalcy ends the moment the power cuts out. Across the island, blackouts stretch for hours, sometimes days. Elevators stop working, refrigerators go dark, mobile networks falter. In rural provinces, electricity is now the exception, not the rule.
It could happen that if the old ones don't let fuel into Cuba, we'll be left without fuel, not even enough to light our homes. We'll be in the dark with the kids going without, because what are we going to use for light? How are we going to cook for the kids if we can't get charcoal? The kind we used to cook with charcoal. If the power goes out right now, how are we supposed to make a snack for the kids in the morning? If we can't get charcoal, then with charcoal, or if not, with firewood.
For many families, the 21st century has slipped away. In homes across the countryside and even on the outskirts of Havana, charcoal stoves have replaced electric burners. Parents wake before sunrise to cook what little food they have before the power disappears again. Children do homework by candlelight, if they can do it at all. The shortages go far beyond electricity. Fuel lines now last 24, 48, or even 72 hours. Taxi drivers sleep in their cars waiting for diesel. Ambulances are rerouted. Hospital patients are delayed. Entire neighborhoods slow to a standstill.
No one has the right to block us by saying, I'm going to block you so no more oil comes in. No one has that right, because everyone is the owner of their own country, the owner of their own country. He wants to take those measures to block, to make himself the owner or not the owner of Venezuelan oil. And if he could, of the whole world, he doesn't have the right. He has his own oil, so why doesn't he use his own well? Why does he have to be imposing blockades on us? Because in the end, the ones most harmed are going to be the people. That doesn't hurt a government or a ruler. The ruler worries about how to solve the situation, but the problem is that we are the ones most affected.
President Miguel Diaz-Canel insists there are no talks with Washington beyond technical migration contacts. He says Cuba complies with international law and that relations with the U.S. cannot move forward through threats and economic coercion.
More demanding with its members and more transparent in its relationship with society. The implementation of the agreements from this 11th plenary will not depend. Donald Trump has just unleashed his pirates on a Venezuelan oil tanker, shamelessly seizing the cargo like a common thief. It was the most recent episode in an alarming sequence of attacks on small vessels and extrajudicial executions of more than 80 people, under accusations that were never proven and amid a threatening, unprecedented military deployment in a declared zone of peace. The Bolivarian Revolution is the main target of the current threatening deployment of US military ships in what they intend to continue using as the backyard for their misdeeds. Despite numerous protests both inside and outside their country against the war plans in the region, the occupant of the White House, his Secretary of State, and the Secretary of War do not hide when it comes to threatening Venezuela's leader and any other government they consider hostile. So let us address directly and without euphemisms the impacts of this blockade on the Cuban economy. Cuba denounces and condemns this return to gunboat diplomacy, this threatening diplomacy, this outrageous theft, yet another in the already long list of plundering the assets of the Venezuelan state. It is unacceptable interference in the internal affairs of a nation that set the course for the independence of our America. This situation, undoubtedly critical, demands the timely and systematic intervention of the leaders.
Donald Trump has openly suggested that cutting Venezuela's oil could push Cuba over the edge. He has warned Havana to strike a deal before it is too late. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has echoed that hardline stance repeatedly, framing Cuba as a hostile actor that must be confronted, isolated, and broken economically.
Not doing very well right now. That system has not been a very good one for Cuba. The people there have suffered for many, many years. And I think Cuba is going to be something we'll end up talking about, because Cuba is a failing nation right now, very badly failing nation. And we want to help the people. It's very similar in the sense that we want to help the people in Cuba, but we want to also help the people that were forced out of Cuba and living in this country. Do you want to say something about that, Marco, please?
Well, I mean, I just gave you a statement a few minutes ago about when the president speaks, you should take him seriously. So suffice it to say, Cuba is a disaster. It's run by incompetent, senile men, and in some cases, not senile but incompetent nonetheless. It has no economy. It's in total collapse. And by the way, they were, all of the guards that helped protect Maduro. This is well known. Their whole spy agency, all that were full of Cubans. I mean, it's amazing. This poor island took over Venezuela in some cases. One of the biggest problems the Venezuelans have is they have to declare independence from Cuba that tried to basically colonize it from a security standpoint. So, yeah, look, if I lived in Havana and I was in the government, I'd be concerned, at least a little bit.
Cutting off the oil flow to Cuba from Venezuela?
Well, the president already announced a week ago that anything that's sanctioned, it's sanctioned oil, it's not going to be allowed to get there. So that's a pre-existing.
The answer is yes. Yes. No, we haven't. No, we haven't.
Mr. President, Mr. President, on Monday.
Oh, I think it would be very tough for her to be the leader. She doesn't have the support within or the respect within the country. She's a very nice woman, but she doesn't have the respect to be the leader.
Mr. President, is it possible that the U.S. ends up administrating Venezuela for years?
Well, it won't cost us anything because the money coming out of the ground is very substantial, so it's not going to cost us anything. We will.
For many Cubans, the language sounds less like diplomacy and more like domination. The United States has oil, Venezuela has oil, Cuba does not.